Tighten those laces, straighten that headband. It's time for CHGO Marathon, a podcast about the culture, community, and challenge of running the world's fourth largest marathon. CHGO Marathon is brought to you by Goose Island, the official beer of CHGO Sports, and the brew that will be waiting for you at the finish line on October 8th. Find one of Goose Island's Chicago locations at gooseisland.com/locations. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I am Kevin Kaduk, the head of content at CHGO and a first-time entrant in the Chicago Marathon. Sarah Fichter is behind the board as always. Today, we're joined by a self-described Chicago stan and a woman of many shoes, not hats because this is a marathon podcast, Heidi Stevens.
And all the shoes are Hoka.
That's right.
If that gets you guys a new sponsorship.
That would be great. I would love some free Hoka shoes.
Totally.
Heidi, how's it going?
Good. It's good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, listeners, you might know Heidi from her work in the Chicago Tribune as a columnist. She's also the director of external affairs at the TMW Center for Early Learning at Public Health at the University of Chicago. And she does many, many other things, including being a travel sports mom. So I don't know where she's getting all the time to run a marathon, but yet here she is.
I don't sleep. Yeah, I decided this is not going to be the year of sleep.
That's if you can eliminate sleep, you can do a lot of things, but you have to get your sleep in if you make sure your body is ready for a marathon.
Yeah, no, I probably shouldn't have led with that, especially because I wrote a column about how running this marathon is teaching me to rest.
That's right.
So I'm a walking contradiction.
That was at the beginning of the training, though. You soon learn that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the travel sports thing adds kind of an interesting element to it because I'm finding myself running in like cities that I wouldn't, normally, if I'm out of town for the weekend with my kid, I wouldn't normally go find a place to run like 7 miles.
What have you checked off? What cities?
So we were in Denver the week of the 7 mile.
Okay.
Which was kind of cool. I found a little trail that goes along a river and it was beautiful. And I ended up by a couple stadiums. And
how was the altitude?
I don't think it affected me.
Okay.
I struggled with that 7 mile run. It was also the first time I'd ever run 7 miles. So I don't know if I was struggling because it was the first time I ever ran 7 miles or because of the altitude. But it didn't feel like remarkably harder than just each of my
I feel like I've run a few
runs.
times in Denver and I felt the same way. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if I was running really fast, it might, but
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just in such peak optimal condition. It just didn't.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
All right. A little bit of housekeeping here before we get into our conversation. And we're going to be talking about corral assignments. We're going to be talking about increase in mileage, and we're just going to be really talking about Heidi's journey to being a first-time entrant in the Chicago Marathon. But just like I said, a few notes. Our next show will be August 15th, so we're taking a few weeks off here and kind of getting things in. But when we come back August 15th, we'll do another 3 weeks in a row. Really appreciate everyone who's been joining us. It's been really cool to see some of the connections we've been making. We're not, doing this to like 1,000 like thousands of people, but I'm already hearing from people, hey, I'm coming in for the Chicago Marathon. Let's meet up. Let's do a run. So
awesome. That's
really cool. I'm working on getting some CHGO Marathon t-shirts. So hopefully we'll have those available in August. We'll be doing content, even though the podcast stops, CHGO_marathon on Twitter, or I guess maybe x.com or whatever it's called now. I don't know. And then 2 CHGO notes. We're doing our CHGO Kickoff Classic August 25th at Cog Hill. So if you want to golf with me and other CHGO Sports family members, that's going to be a lot of fun. 9 a.m. shotgun start. Your ticket gets you 18 holes, a cart, some pins and aces gear, a lot of other cool stuff. Goose Island will be out there. And then we're having a 50% off t-shirt sale at CHGO Locker, including this CHGO Sky shirt. So go check that out. Did I hit everything, Sarah?
We have our Crosstown Classic
coming up.
Yeah,
Classic.
we have the Sox one on, what is it? Yeah, July 26th.
Sox one is tomorrow, sold out.
God, that is
Cubs
tomorrow,
one,
yeah.
The Cubs one is still, the Cubs one will be August 16th, and we still have tickets available for that.
Yeah, the
so
Sox
make sure
one
you
is
jump.
sold out, though.
Don't get left out, because I'm sure that Wrigley one will go. I'm not able to go to the Sox one, but I will be out at Wrigley Field on Wednesday, August 16th. Are you going?
I'm going tomorrow. I will be gone for the Cubs one though,
that's right.
but I'll be here for.
You're gonna be gone for some of these next.
I'll be at
pods.
the marathon one. I'll be gone for probably a good week.
And the softball playoffs. You're gonna miss the softball playoffs.
Only for I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
I hope not.
Now I'm like I gotta look at my calendar again. I hope not. I don't know. Oh boy.
Sarah and I had a big softball loss last night to Odyssey.
It was horrible. It was pretty bad. Carm didn't even play me. It was so bad.
Oh, no.
You did fine.
No, I knew we needed power hitters, but we got kind of screwed in the first inning.
We had a bad inning.
We had a bad
but we
first
recovered,
inning.
which I think there's a lesson for marathon runners.
Absolutely.
You can have a bad mile, just leave it behind you.
Absolutely. I was like maybe the worst high school softball player in the history of my high school. My coach would put me in to pinch run, just, so that I got some playing time. So I'm actually really excited if there's some sort of lesson in that for marathon training. Yeah. Let me know when you come up with
any lessons you can take. I'm for, but yeah. So like, you're like me, Heidi, this is your first time. I think we kind of know what to expect, and we also have no idea what to expect.
That's
but
right.
I want to start from the beginning because I think you have an interesting story and journey. You wrote a column about this for the Tribune News Service. In 2011, you were diagnosed with a heart condition caused by viral meningitis. And then in 2020, you had a battle with COVID that landed you in the hospital. So two pretty big things that happened to a person. And you thought like you may never run again. But you kind of overcame that. And in 2023, you did make the decision to enter the Chicago Marathon. So can you kind of just really take me through what that decision was like? What factors went into you really saying, okay, this is something that I want to do?
Sure. Yeah. So the heart condition from meningitis is just sort of this, thing that I live with and monitor, and it's okay. And then COVID caused additional heart damage. So after the COVID diagnosis and the acute heart damage diagnosis, I sort of thought, let me, ease my way back into the occasional 2-3 mile run, which was really all I did. I was never a big runner. I did, like a 10K is the longest race I've ever done. I think in some ways I was, that some of that was in my head, like, cause I didn't actually have a cardiologist say your running days are over.
Yeah.
You do whatever you do, you can't run anymore. I just sort of had in my head, like, well, I'm a little scared too. It doesn't feel safe. Maybe I better not. But I do find running to be the workout, the activity that clears my head the most, right? Like I'm at the gym, there's TVs everywhere. There's, music playing, my music's playing louder to try to drown out their music.
Right. People are taking selfies.
People are taking selfies. I don't leave the gym feeling like clear headed. I leave the gym feeling like I burned some calories, I guess.
Right.
So, I do find myself like drawn back to running when my life is crazy and that feels like a peaceful place. So that's all sort of swirling in the background. Then my good friend, John Duffy, who, I started a podcast with, ran the Minneapolis Marathon with his son last year. And he's like, you got to do a marathon with me. Like, I hated it. It was awful. It changed my life. Like, I need you to do it so we can talk about it. And I decided, like, let me gut check how much of my hesitation around pushing myself to run harder is real and how much of it is just kind of like a story I'm telling myself.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. Decided to go.
So you jumped with both feet in. You're running for a charity called Nourishing Hope, which I think helps. I've told the story about how I got into this. I'm supporting Cal's Angels, which is a pediatric cancer charity. Nice. So I think that helps a lot. And then I think too, both you and I were drawn to the fact that it is through Chicago.
Right? We could just see all the neighborhoods and all the people are screaming and cheering. And
you live here long enough, you end up at the marathon as a spectator. You watch and you cheer other people on, and you think, well, one day I hope that I can be out there. And I always thought that, and it just took a really long time for me to to get the courage to do it, I guess.
Yep, same. And one little, like, I'm going to be a Chicago stan, as you mentioned. I'm in a running group on Saturday mornings, and one of our pacers was saying how she's run marathons everywhere. And after doing Chicago a couple years in a row, she put her name on her shirt and tape, like people do in Chicago, because you run and people yell for you, like, go Elizabeth, go Kevin. And she's like, no one yelled her name. And then she felt like kind of an idiot. She's like, it's just there in case I faint, so the paramedics know my name.
Not one person yelled her name?
No one cheers for you by name in other cities.
Oh, in other cities.
I gotcha. Right. So she was like, I guess that's a Chicago thing, which of course it would be a Chicago thing.
The marathon is such a big part of Chicago, and I think it's like really one of the few things where it's like impossible to have a negative opinion on it. Maybe, I guess, if you get rerouted on that Sunday, you're trying to get somewhere, trying to get to breakfast.
Right.
Other than that, like people, I think it's a point of civic pride.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I went out and cheered. Numerous friends on. My ex-husband ran the Chicago Marathon a bunch of times, so I was out there with the kids and strollers and like have definitely had that experience, and it's exciting to think about being on the other side of it.
Absolutely. Hey, shout out to Rob who's watching. He says, I hope we don't have any Canadian smoke during the marathon. Absolutely.
Same, Rob.
Yeah.
Well, I was running yesterday. I ran after, what was I doing earlier that day? And the smoke, honestly, it does, if it gets over 100, like
it's
I feel like,
great.
and I think today it's at like 150 or something. You can see it like by the skyline and everything.
I could barely see the skyline today.
Yeah, honestly, it does. I feel like it affects me, and I'm not running, like I'm only running 3 miles when I run because I'm not training for the marathon, but like, how are you? Did you run yesterday? Are you feeling the air?
I ran yesterday very early. I didn't have a problem with it.
You didn't have a problem? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think yesterday was as bad as today. Today I went to the gym. If my little phone says moderate or, risky for at-risk populations or however they're wording it.
Did the treadmill?
I do the track. My gym has a track, which is a little
that's
better.
What I have too. Yeah.
It's a little better.
I can't do a treadmill for
the
long
treadmill's
distance.
Brutal. Yeah. No. I did learn that your like fancy watches don't always work necessarily inside a gym unless you have like a shoe pod connector thing.
Yeah. I don't have that.
Yeah, I don't either. But I was like running a gazillion laps around in the gym, and I'm like, I really can't believe I'm not at 4 miles yet. And my daughter actually was like, no, those don't work inside with all the cement. I'm like,
you
that's
need
not
to
true,
actually be counting.
Yeah, you need to be right, exactly.
Which we're not used to anymore.
There's been a couple concerns on our last podcast too. We were concerned about the heat day of. Yeah. Now concerned about smoke.
We're going to talk about our long runs a little later in the show, but last week was a great weather week. I mean, Saturday morning there was not a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
And I've been doing like kind of updates on TikTok and Instagram, and I said, man, I really hope like the weather stays like this. And then as soon as I stopped doing the video, I looked, and no, the weather's not going to stay like this. It's going to be very humid. And today is very humid and hot. So we'll see how that goes. So you got into the marathon. Like how's it been going so far? Like,
it's going awesome. I kind of love it in ways that I didn't expect to. There's I was nervous about the group runs. I was nervous about having to talk and run at the same time. I didn't know if I could pull that off. I've always run alone. The idea of like meeting a friend to run and have a conversation sounded terrible to me.
Yeah.
And then the idea of meeting strangers to run and have a conversation with sounded extra terrible. But I love it. And I'm finding, and they tell you to use that as a check to make sure you've picked the right pace. Like you should be able to carry on a conversation, at least during training, because you're trying to build up your endurance and make sure you're finding a pace that you can carry on for 26 miles. So it's really like, I kind of think it's a cool metaphor, I guess, for, you're on all these different paths, with all these different people from different backgrounds and experiences and reasons for being there. And then for that like couple hours on a Saturday morning, you're on the same path, right? Like actual path, metaphorical path. And you talk about all the things, we're talking about tips on best sports masseuse to, gear and how you want to carry your hydration and like nipple guards. And like, it goes to like dark places quickly. And then it goes to funny places quickly. And like, I don't know, there's something really beautiful about it that I didn't anticipate. I didn't anticipate it even happening, let alone enjoying it, but I'm really liking that part of it. I find the mental part of it fascinating. Like, I remember really getting nervous about running 5 miles. Like, our first long run was 5 miles. And now 5 miles seems to me like, you could do it in your sleep practically.
It's crazy.
That was like this summer, I felt like 5 miles was impossible.
Yeah.
And now still this summer, 5 miles seems easy to me. So I think that's just, I don't know how old you are, but we're not in our teens or 20s. I don't think. Are you in your 20s? Okay.
Yeah. You can check my ID if you want.
You have a very youthful look. I didn't want to tell you, but
Sarah's young though.
So when you're old like us, Sarah, it can feel like you're not taking on like new challenges where you're getting like stronger at things, right? Or pushing yourself into like new things. You're not necessarily forging a new career path. All the things are starting to like slow down a little bit in a lot of areas. And it feels good to be like, I'm actually going to ramp up at something. I'm actually going to go harder at something than I have been.
Just taking a new challenge. I think that's exactly right. The marathon, it just kind of seems like a big enough challenge, right? And there's people that have done hundreds of marathons, thousands of marathons. There's people who run ultra marathons, but for regular people, it's still something that's attainable if you put the work into it.
Yep.
And what I've actually talked about is like, I actually like something. This has a deadline. Like, so much in our lives, we just feel like a treadmill or a hamster wheel. In this job, there's always going to be another podcast. There's always going to be another meeting to have. In our personal lives, we're going to have to take our kids to practices, and that always keeps going.
Right.
This is October 8th, 26.2 miles. It is defined. Here is a plan. I have it like set up in my Notion page.
Yep.
I've got everything set up. Just start checking this stuff off. And this is going to, at the end, you're going to get a medal. You're going to get a Goose Island beer. I love that. I'm also a big technology guy. So I like the Apple Watches. I like the numbers of it. I like seeing. I write down on a spreadsheet what every mile I do. Just for some reason I just love the order of it because so much in the year 2023 and when you get to our age, there's not a lot of order. Yeah. So okay, here's every single day I can check in, see how I'm progressing, and just kind of go from there.
I love that. I hadn't thought of it that way, but that's a really good point.
Which makes me sad because I'm already what am I going to do when it's over?
I've heard people say that. Do people tell you that after it's over, they go through a little bit of a mourning process?
I'll be honest. I was a little sad when my run ended on Saturday.
And because it felt 12 miles?
Yeah, I felt so good during that.
Yeah.
And I woke up on Sunday, and Sunday's supposed to be your rest day, and I was kind of I want to get out there again. And I was like, all right, well, I need to just have rest today. I knew I needed to do it because I don't know if I would have been able to do that 12 miles so well had I not followed those rest days up to that point.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
And there's 13 miles this week. And so it's
I think I'm on a slightly different schedule than you because I haven't done, I haven't gotten to 12 yet. I'm doing Chicago Endurance Sports. So I just do whatever they tell me to do.
So I'm doing Kara and I'm doing Advanced too.
Oh, Advanced.
Now my cousin is doing one above it. And so she, last week she does 14 miles. Okay. So I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I'm doing whatever the opposite of Advanced is.
I'm trying not to get hurt.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
My back is killing me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think in an injury way. I think in just my body's what is this? Why are we running again? I think it's fine.
I was having some hip problems, leg problems, but then I got new shoes and it went away.
Oh, maybe I need new shoes.
It could be. So when we had Kofuzi on 2 weeks ago, he's I said, when is the best time for new shoes?
Yeah, what did he say?
Your body will tell you.
Oh, okay.
And so that might be it.
I mean, I feel like new shoes as a solution to things makes me happy. So
right.
I'm going to try that.
What's the worst part of marathon training so far?
the most challenging part is the time, right?
Yeah.
Like it takes a long time to run 10 miles.
Right.
You know,
There's no shortcuts.
There's no shortcuts.
Yeah. No hacks.
And especially if you have kids, you know, or other people, you know, someone might be caring for a sick relative, or, you know, you have a partner who needs you. Like if you have somebody else who needs you home by a certain time and needs a ride to a place at a certain time, like that's tricky.
Right.
You know, and jobs and social life and all that stuff too. But like, because those long runs tend to be on Saturdays or Sundays, and so do family obligations. That part has been a little tricky. So far, you know, I'm working it out, but like you know, I do find myself cutting back on like sleep and stuff like that. But yeah, that's probably been the trickiest. And then, this like sore back, I'm not loving, but that's okay. One of the group run conversations we got in was, you know, two of the guys in my group, were talking about how much they like beer. And I said, do you guys give up drinking during training? They've all run multiple marathons. I think I'm the only marathon rookie in my group. And they said no. And one of the guys said, I don't want to resent this process. Like it's so much of it's mental. I try not to really give up much, like beer or certain foods, or like miss social outings with my friends so I can go to bed early or whatever, because like I don't want this to feel like something that I have to miss out on in life so that I can make this happen. Like I want this to fit around my life rather than making my life fit around this. So I loved that so much that I'm trying to kind of adopt that mentality, and not look for things that are hard and make me resentful of it.
Yeah. I mean, like, why do something if you do resent it? So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
To me, I mean, my big thing is just like kind of like recovery. So it's like one thing to run for 2 hours, but then, you know, if you're later on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, whenever you do your long runs, then you feel like I need to take an hour nap or whatever. Like that's where it gets a little tough. So
yeah,
I'm a little worried that, so I have Friday night Bruce Springsteen tickets to Wrigley, and it's a 15-miler weekend.
Next morning. Yeah.
So I think I'm going to do it Friday. I think I'm going to do it the morning of the concert.
Oh, that's smart.
I was just about to say, you got to reschedule that run the next morning. Like,
I mean, I could delay it to Sunday. I just don't know what to do. I mean, you also just have to stay flexible.
Right.
I think you should do it the morning of.
I agree.
I mean, because then it's like,
before.
well, it's like
Take
then
a
it's
nap.
done. Yeah, and then take a nap. And if
Yeah.
you're sore, I mean, you're just sitting in a chair drinking. So
There's
it's
no
not
sitting at a
like
Bruce
There's not-
Springsteen
yeah,
concert.
okay, yeah, you're standing, but I don't know. I feel like the morning of, at least that's what I would personally do. I'd rather want to get it out of the way. That way I know then the next morning I can sleep and then like rest my body and still enjoy the concert and not dread it or
That's
like kill myself if I have a beer extra than I should have.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Rob says, I never time myself. I'm worried I'd stop loving it as much if I let my experience be defined by my times. That's one of the cool things about running. It's different for everyone. Everyone does it a different way and does it. So I'm totally for that too. I think that'd be really, really cool too. Just, you know, sometimes I do runs without music. So you could be a little bit more locked into the run. Maybe I shouldn't be locked into my stats so much on the run, but
If you don't have music, do you have anything like
sometimes no
audiobooks or nothing?
No.
Just your thoughts.
Just in your head.
I used to be a podcast person while running, and like I just can't do I just can't do like information from other people during the runs anymore.
Yeah. You just want to be in your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I also just kind of go through cycles too. So
What are you going to do on race day? Do you know?
I don't know.
Well, didn't you say you had an issue with your battery life?
So I solved it a little bit because I got a hydration backpack, which I know you can't use during the marathon.
Okay.
But I was able to stash my iPhone in there, so I was able to run the GPS and music off of the iPhone rather than the watch. So the watch didn't drain, and I was able to listen to almost all of the previous night's fish show from the Live Fish app. It was amazing.
That's hilarious.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't wear the backpack things, right?
You can't, no.
Yeah.
But it was great for a training run.
Okay.
I almost kind of felt like it was like in basic training or something. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was like, had this thing on and it had like this. I know in basic training, they don't give you this, but like,
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's someone like who was actually in the military who's like, screw this guy. But
Yeah, you're about to get canceled.
right. So, all right, let's talk corral assignments. I didn't know this was a big deal, but I'm in Facebook groups for the marathon. And when the corral assignments came out, everyone was talking about it. And I mentioned it on Twitter today, and you said, I actually better look that up. So you actually looked it up. So you didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't know that it was a big deal. Heidi, I have a problem. So when I signed up for the Chicago Marathon, they asked me for my estimated time. I was very, very conservative and said I thought it would take me 5.5 hours. Now, it could still well take me 5.5 hours, depending on how things go.
Yeah.
How my training is trending, I'm going to be hopefully a half hour to 45 minutes faster than that.
That's awesome.
So they put me in N, which is the back of the pack.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, that's where I belong. That's where I belong. But I also kind of want to make sure that I'm in the right spot. So I requested to go in Corral K with Jared Willis from CHGO. He, I guess, was maybe a little bit more ambitious with this time or whatever. So I guess we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter like when you start. Like the clock's going to start when you hit the mat. But
right. I know my little running group Saturday was talking about this, and I had not checked my time yet at that point. I did when you tweeted that, and I'm in L.
Okay.
Some people are worried about the later you start, obviously the hotter it gets if it's a hot day. The course, I guess, just gets more crowded. So the water stations, the Gatorade stations, everything are just like more packed with people the later you start. But I don't know. Do you want to try to buy my L off me?
I don't know if they're for sale. I mean, it'd be kind of weird. Like
just between the two of us and everyone watching on YouTube.
If we switch bids, right? I don't know. So you can actually file for a request to be.
I know.
So
I think I estimated between 4:45 and 5 as my finish time. So that I guess put me in L.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I've been reading people say like even you could be in like row C and there's at corral C and there's still people walking by, like the quarter mile part of it. So
you don't know if you're going to get an injury or a cramp or
yeah. So we'll see about that. Corral K, I think is a good, my name's Kevin. We'll start in K.
Oh,
so
for sure.
Go
for
from
sure.
there.
Yeah. No, there's some harmony in that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't really have too many other thoughts about the corral thing. I think it's one of those marathon things where people like want some news. Like it's like a 3-month lead up to this thing. So you like want something to talk about. So it's like, but in the long run, it doesn't matter all that much. Rob Schwartz Jr. says running in the later groups can cause problems for your start. In my opinion, you definitely want to make sure you're finding your pace group, and I think you make sure you want to, whether you're running for a 10-mile pace or 10.5-minute mile pace, you want to make sure you're finding those people. So I definitely do agree with that. Mm-hmm. Rob says trying to get through slower traffic at the beginning of a run is frustrating. We saw that, Sarah, at the big 10K.
That was something that honestly frustrated me. And I did at the big 10K, and that was the first time I ever did a running thing.
Yeah.
I'm starting to just get into it. And I didn't start running until I feel like 0.2, 0.3 in. So I'm just walking a quarter of my mile, and I could have already been running. To me, I was honestly, I didn't really care, but I was just kind of trying to run, and there's 1,000 people in front of me. So it's I can't, and plus it was raining. And so it's and everything was flooded. And so I couldn't go around people, cause then I'm in a puddle.
Right.
And then my feet were wet. And so it was, that was a little it was something I learned. I was okay, that's something to keep in mind for any future stuff.
Yeah. I guess one question I would have for anyone who has run a marathon is actually how long does it take before you really feel like you're in yourself, before you're running the race? Because I feel for some of those, for the half marathons I've done, for the 10 miles, it's I would even say 3 miles.
Yeah, I would say personally for me, and I'm just getting into distance running like that, I would say I don't feel like warmed up. Like the first mile, I feel like is the hardest out of everything.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And that surprised me.
Like whatever reason, my body like just doesn't like me for the first mile, but then something just switches once I get to that 2 mark, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine.
I'm so relieved to hear you say that, because I'll think I'm killing
like
it, and then I'll go back out the next day and I'm like, why am I struggling at 1 mile?
But then I feel horrible.
3, 4 then it starts to feel better, which
I love that feeling too, where it's like, okay, I'm actually doing better than I was at the start. That's a great feeling.
It is a good feeling.
Yeah. Even sometimes when I'm doing, like when I was training for the 6 miles, I would be at like mile 4 and 5, and I felt great, like better than I did at mile 1 and 2, which was, I think it is just like your body's just getting warmed up, and then also struggling with recovery. That was definitely like me being sore because I ran too much or too long during the week.
Absolutely.
And like didn't really listen to my body either. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Totally.
But then I think with the marathon too, you throw in the fact that it's 45,000 runners, which just is,
that's ungodly.
That's like a medium-sized city. Like,
that's a lot of people.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's more people that can fit into Sox Park.
Right. That's a whole giant university.
just generally, like that is a good point by Rob. Just kind of figuring out that traffic, make sure you stake out your territory, find like the kind of 2 or 3 runners around you that you think are similar speeds to you, and say, all right, these are my people for the rest of the race, or my people for the next 3 or 4 miles, or whatever it is.
Yep.
I think that's interesting. Hey, shout out to Marcos, one of our best listeners. He says, what's up, CHGO Marathon? Thanks for joining, Heidi. It's about that time of training for half marathon miles and counting. Keep up the good work, Kevin, for your first marathon training. Thank you, Marcos. Appreciate everything. Marcos is going to be at the Sox Takeover on Wednesday, so if you're out there, say what's up.
Look for me, Marcos. I'll be there in my Cubs shirt.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Bold.
Not a Sox fan.
Bold.
Let's talk a little bit about the long runs and the mileage kind of creeping up. I think you touched on a little bit about it. Like, you've been surprised that you've been able to handle it so well, but it's like, okay, we handled this week well, but then it's next week and then the week after and the week after. Like, that's the daunting part. And like, we might be sitting here a month from now watching a replay of this and be like, look at those idiots.
Right. So young, so innocent.
Right.
At one of our long runs a couple Saturdays ago, one of our pacers said, okay, that's where we all meet for the 20. And I was like, oh,
yeah, what
did I do? I don't know. In that moment, 20 sounded like the stupidest decision I had ever made. But then another time it feels like that's going to be fun. So I don't know. I go back and forth on that.
Do you find it crazy that the top distance you do is 20 miles? Like, if we're training for a 26, and like at some point I'll just have to get a scientist or biophysicist or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, tell me the day, because I want to listen.
Like,
to
why is
that? Right. Yeah, they're like, oh, the momentum will just carry you through the last 6, and I'm like, I definitely have spent most of my life not running 6,
right?
Let alone 20 and then 6.
And they say, okay, that's 2 different races. You're running 20 miles and then you're running 6 miles, and it's completely 2 different races. It's like, well, so the 6 miles is something you just haven't prepared for.
Right. Right. I know it does seem weird, but I mean, they've got a science to this, I'm sure. Right.
Yeah.
Don't they?
I was going to say, I'm going to definitely be there to cheer and support everyone on. But yeah, no, I want to sit by the 24 mile or like the 23 mile. 'Cause I want to see how that ending is. Like, how are people looking?
Right.
Just like,
not
geez. Yeah, not great.
Right. And you kind of end up a hill, right? Don't you?
Do you?
Kind of
I
run
don't
up
know.
So you have to run up
Roosevelt?
the one in Roosevelt. They say that's like the strongest hill in the world.
That would be, that'll be rough.
Are you finding hills for training?
I've been running the Morton Arboretum, and there's some nice ones in there.
Oh yeah.
There's a few in there, so I do enjoy that. I mean, but it's a flat course, so you don't really need to do too much hill training.
Yeah.
So,
our training schedule says to find hills a couple different times. I think just for leg strength, right, and endurance.
Yeah.
Not so much because this course has hills, but I have been counting the on-ramp to the 606 as a hill. Which Might be cheating.
Have you measured the grade on that?
It's really steep.
Yeah.
It's really steep.
They were saying, we talked about it a few weeks ago, that the New York Marathon is surprisingly very hilly. That's what, I don't remember what, that was a few episodes back.
Said
oh,
that,
he
yeah.
did? Yeah. And that's one where I was just like, imagine doing all of that and then having mixed in like, even a small hill at that point is like your body is feeling it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're kind of ticked.
Manhattan is actually hilly. I mean, even when you're walking through it and then you throw the bridges into it.
Yeah.
No, it would be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
And I think probably like New York too is like a running on bridges is like a different thing too.
Yeah.
It's not like just running on asphalt. And that's like one interesting that I've kind of found too is like I'd always be like driving and I would like yell at people like, why are you running on the street and not the sidewalk? And then you realize that it's much nicer to run on the
runner.
street.
Yeah. I'm a street runner, unfortunately. And I do the same thing. I hate people that run when I'm driving, but when I am running, it's better on the street.
It's
I don't
so
know.
much better.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
It's so much better.
There's less people too. I'd rather deal with cars and dogs and people on the sidewalk.
Totally.
I got totally almost startled by a labradoodle the other day that I didn't see coming. That was rough.
Yeah. You don't want to trip on a labradoodle.
Watch out for the labradoodles. Hey, Rob said that the little hills on the 606 count. So it's good news for
Rob,
them.
my hero. Aw. Yay. Okay, good. I'm going to keep counting them then.
Yeah.
If you do another marathon, do you think you would do Chicago again, or do you think you'd try to find a different city?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think
it
would have to be another
If.
big. I think it would have to be a destination marathon into a city that I want to run in.
Right. Like, let me see Berlin. And
I know a lot of people who really get into marathon running will seek out smaller fields so they can get a really good race, a really good time, a qualifying time for Boston or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to get to that point. Mm-hmm. But I could see I always wanted to go to Tokyo, but I've always wanted to go for a baseball game.
Are they opposite seasons?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a great question.
I know my brother, he did the Chicago Marathon a few years ago, and then his very next one, he went to Barcelona, and he did the Barcelona one this year. Yeah, so he's definitely a big travel guy now. When it comes to his next one, he wants to do the one in China, and because there's one where you can do a marathon on the Great Wall of China.
Oh my God.
And have that as part of the course.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so I feel like that is like you do one marathon like wherever you're from, or you go to like a Chicago one or New York, and then it's like, okay, well then you realize there's all over the world there's races.
Right.
There is a little bit of like homebody in me where it's like I just kind of feel like I need to be familiar. Like I do like running when I'm traveling, but there's also that part of you where like I don't know where I'm at.
Oh yeah,
Right.
you'd be in a totally different
kinda
world,
suck, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, even for this, like I don't want to stay in a hotel
Yeah.
the night before the race. I want to sleep in my own bed.
Totally. Yeah.
So I don't know.
And you're packing a bag, and it's
So I
like,
can't
what
imagine
do
like, okay, this is your first time in Japan. Also make sure you're ready to run a marathon.
Right.
I feel like you're doing it smart, like both of you are, just by staying like at home and then somewhat being in a familiar environment. And then if you end up loving it, maybe do a destination one.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I don't know.
This is what old people do. They just get into marathon running.
I guess so.
don't know.
There's worse vices.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, there's worse things to do.
All right, so let's finish this up with some questions. I don't know, just some random questions, I guess. What is your favorite thing about running in Chicago? Maybe a favorite location, or maybe just actual just aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, cliche, but the lake, Yeah. I find it a lot easier to get up in the morning and get out of bed and run if I know I'm going to watch the sunrise.
Right.
Or at least get to the lake close enough to sunrise to where I'm watching it change colors and seeing some sort of, show basically in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely the lake. It's also just such a head clear, to have on one side of you, there's nothing. Like on the other side of you, there's traffic and there's people and there's bikes and there's, and then on that side, there's nothing.
It's a good dichotomy.
Yeah.
I do like the lake, but I also I don't love also running back. Like I like to do a loop. So
Okay.
I think that's maybe my only issue with the lake.
Yep.
And also sometimes the wind, but
Yeah.
I definitely, when you're going and you actually see the skyline, I mean, that's as inspiring as it gets.
It really is.
So,
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what shoes are you training in? You already hinted at Hoka's. How are those working out for you?
Hoka's are great. Yeah, I had always run in Nikes, and then I was getting some bruising on my feet. And
Nikes are not very unpopular.
That's what I've learned.
That's what I've heard too. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Fleet Feet, and they were like, "No, you can't run in Nikes."
Every store
like, did
is
anyone
like,
tell Nike? Because I think they call them running shoes. But she said Hoka's and what do you call it? Insoles or inserts or whatever.
Okay.
I know. Now I sound geriatric, but
Dr. Scholl's.
Exactly, Dr. Scholl's. They really help. So I'm on my probably 4th pair of Hoka's at this point.
Okay.
And yeah, I love them.
I just switched to Sauconys. They've been great. Love them. So
I'm glad to hear you say that because I didn't know how to pronounce that word.
I think that's right.
Saucony. So
I think, what do I run in the Brooks? I think I have the Brooks
You
ones.
tell me, Sarah.
No, I know, but I feel like we talked about it at
we?
the 10K, but I don't know. That was weeks ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, I do the Brooks, which
Okay.
I like a lot because I need a lot of foam, and so I like those. Mm-hmm. The only problem is they're like $130 something.
Yeah.
That's the only problem I've been running into. If anyone has any financial advice on more shoes,
Right.
I know Kevin has taught me a couple things.
Just waiting for the sponsors to arrive, Sarah. They need to outfit us head to toe and whatever.
It's an expensive hobby, is what I'm finding out.
It's
I
kind
know.
of crazy.
Yeah. It kinda is,
It's not
actually.
cheap, and it's especially with girls too. Like it took. I didn't realize that I had to buy like a new sports bra for when I'm running too,
Yeah.
compared to like when I'm just working out, and then when I'm doing distance running.
Yeah.
I needed to buy a new sports bra, like different pants. and
Yep.
Definitely used up a couple paychecks for sure.
Yeah, no, there's kind of a uniform. Yeah. So can we stay on shoes for 1 second? Because how close to the marathon should you start breaking in a new pair, right? Like you don't want to be in your ones you run in for the past 6 months, but you don't want them to be
I think
new,
it all just
right?
kind of depends. I mean, again, like we keep on referencing the Kofuzi episode. Everyone should go listen to that because it was really
Okay.
good.
Okay.
He basically said like there's nothing wrong with actually using the same pair of shoes from beginning to start. Like if
Really?
you can do like one pair of shoes the entire process.
Okay.
But if you really want to feel like you want something a little lighter, I mean, some of the lighter shoes just aren't going to
That's
stand up
sustainable, yeah.
to daily training.
All that training, yeah.
So for something like that, maybe just figure, okay, start them 100 miles out from it. And that's what I do love about the apps. Like with the Nike running app, you can put your shoe in there and you can track the miles per shoe. So you exactly know, okay, when did I introduce these into them?
Yep, how many miles have
This is
they-
how much mileage is on there,
Okay.
instead of just being like, when did I buy those? Or
Yeah.
I feel like at least a month, at least like a good 30 days of
I
like,
would say so.
Break in.
Yeah, because like that would be my biggest fear is buying new shoes and then you end up just not really loving them and then you have to run 26 point something miles.
Right.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
about buying one more pair of shoes, getting them into the rotation, and then figuring out which ones.
I feel like
But
now's a good time to do that.
I mean, running is a good thing. Like if you're just kind of a shopaholic, if you do like retail therapy, that's a
Yeah.
great thing. I'm going to buy a new headband. I'm going to buy a new watch.
Right.
I'm going to
Yeah,
buy
you're
a
a
new pair of
headband guy,
shorts.
too.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a new hydration backpack.
Yeah, that's how I found Kevin at the 10K was because he always wears a headband. And so I was like, and he's tall too. So I was like, you can pick him out.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I haven't tried headbands. I'm always in a hat, but I like it. I like the headband idea.
I do like the hat too. The hat's
Do you
not
like running in
bad.
a hat? I'm like half and half sometimes.
I feel like it does a nice job of like blocking the sun.
See, I want the sun. That's
you
me.
want the
yeah,
sun?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me being like, I will use this opportunity for a good UV, and that's what I do.
I kind of like the shade of it. And I have crazy hair, and the hat sort of keeps it somewhat in place.
together.
And
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But a headband might work as well.
Yeah. You do a lot of good like photography like on your runs too. Like it's like a good like Chicago like tourism guide or whatever. Like
Well, the Nike Run app hates me for that because it's always like, run, paused, pausing your run.
when you take a
I'm like,
picture.
"Ugh, I'm just taking pictures.
yeah.
So, but now I don't use the Nike Run app because I got my little watch. But yeah, I do stop and take a lot of pictures.
It's always fun. I mean, the more you can kind of like, and I think as like content creators, like,
Yeah.
like running is a good thing, right? I mean,
For sure.
I mean, I would lie like if I said like part of my calculus wasn't like, oh, I can kind of maybe get some content.
Yeah.
It's fun. Like,
Yep.
and we were talking about before we went on air, like, it's like age old tradition. Eric Zorn, the Tribune columnist, did a thing. Oprah made a whole big thing of running
Yeah.
a marathon.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, there's some marketing of the city to it, right? You know, there's a lot of Chicago haters, and you're kind of like, look how beautiful it is, and look at me out, you know, not being scared on a path, and you know, like
absolutely.
And look at this public art, and look at this, you know, it's not always just sparkling lake and glistening skyline. There's lots of beautiful, you know, corners of Chicago.
Right.
So I do like that part of it too.
What is your favorite post long run meal?
Ooh, that's a great question. It takes me a while to eat after a long run. Like I don't feel, you know, feel
I mean, but
hungry.
you look at the calories you burn. You're like, all right, well, I mean, I'll talk about this. Like I still need to figure out the nutrition aspect of this.
Same.
Because one thing I've kind of learned, this is not the time to lose weight.
Right. No.
You're not going to do that. Like you need to be bringing the fuel in that you are burning up. And I don't know if you were in here on Thursday, Sarah. I did a lot of speed work on Wednesday night, and I could not stop eating on Thursday. I could not feel full.
Yeah.
I ate my lunch in the car on the way down.
Yeah.
I couldn't even wait to get here. And then it was like 1:30. I'm still starving. And there's nothing here to eat. Like we don't have a full fridge here.
Right.
So before I did my other podcast, I was like, I just got a DoorDash Chipotle, which I don't normally do because it's expensive as all hell.
Right.
It's like, all right, here's $25. Like I need to eat something
the calories
because I was burning so much, and I hadn't had that yet. So
that's, I think, just listening to your body too. Is this isn't. I mean, you're probably going to end up losing weight, but you're building a lot of muscle too, training.
Right.
So it's like if you're hungry, feed your body.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you're feeling that way, feed your body.
Yep.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah.
I've been weighing myself at the gym, just kind of out of curiosity, and I have not lost weight, and I don't want to lose weight. But I notice changes in my body where I think I'm probably gaining muscle and losing.
It's definitely a lot of muscle building. Yeah. Which I feel is that's why you have to be hydrated and you have to eat. And it's because then you're just going to be losing weight, which then you're just going to get tired and lose energy easily.
Yeah. So I guess if I had to pick a favorite, I would go. I mean, I'm a big brunch food person, so I love like chilaquiles or something with lots of eggs.
Is that how you pronounce
cheese.
that? That's a word I always wondered how you pronounce.
Look at us teaching each other pronunciations. I think so. Or I might have that wrong, but avocado, eggs, cheese, beans, tortillas, all that yummy stuff mixed together.
One of my favorite power food lunches, and it's easier to make at home, but just do rice, sliced avocado, couple over easy eggs, throw hot sauce on there, mash it all up.
Yeah, that's right on my alley.
Throw some salmon in it. I eat the same meal. I had that was my college food a lot because it's cheap and it's easy and it's amazing. Fast. Yeah.
Yep.
You don't want to know what I ate in college.
We used to cook a lot of good food in college.
I don't think I had discovered.
I lived with all girls though.
When we were in college, Buffalo Wild Wings were 20 cents a wing.
No. Yeah.
You could go get 10 wings for $2. Now it's probably now the special is probably $2 a wing.
We'd make charcuterie boards and have our wine nights.
Oh my God. We went to Arby's.
I
went to Eastern. There was no charcuterie boards within a 20-mile
radius. Charcuterie boards were not invented at that point.
Definitely.
We were
Nobody
classy.
could have pronounced it if they were.
There was no influencers to tell you the charcuterie boards.
I was going to say, I feel like that's probably a lot of we did a lot of TikTok charcuterie board stuff, so that's probably it. But anyways,
I like that.
I love
feed your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a steak on Saturday night. It was amazing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Steak.
Get the iron, get the protein.
And I actually checked out a book on marathon running, and they had nutrition on there, and the person in there was actually eat a lot of steak because it's great in iron. I was like, absolutely, I'm signed up.
Totally.
And they also said red wine is good for you too. So if you throw the red wine and you have the steak,
amazing.
That's just good. And then I really fell apart on Sunday and had Kim's Uncle Pizza in Westmont, which is the kind of hot pizza place now, and made a mockery of myself there. So it was well earned though, because I burned over 2,000 calories on that run. So
isn't that wild?
it's super crazy.
Yeah. How do you track that? Does your watch tell you?
Yeah, that was my watch calculation. So being a bigger dude, I'm gonna burn a few more calories. So my wife will do the same thing and be like, "Why didn't I burn the same amount of calories. It's like, because I am bigger than you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have that setting on my watch. Maybe it's available and I just don't know it, but yeah.
I think it was on the the Nike Run app tells me, I think.
Okay.
So, all right. So finally tell us a little bit about Nourishing Hope, which is the charity that you're running for and raising money for, and people can probably check that out on your social profiles.
Yeah, for sure. I have the link on my Instagram. So Nourishing Hope used to be Lakeview Food Pantry.
Okay.
But they expanded into not just combating hunger and feeding our Chicago neighbors who need food, but also providing mental health services. Mm-hmm. And fighting for better mental health service access for Chicagoans. So they changed their name to Nourishing Hope. So, it's a Northside-based nonprofit, and they provide all kinds of stuff, food, mental health services, and also job training and kind of a host of social services. So actually got connected to them through a former coworker, Greg Trotter, and I used to work at the Chicago Tribune together, and now he works there. So when I posted on, I don't know, Facebook or somewhere that I was trying to run the marathon, like I had entered for a lottery spot in the marathon, he was like, do the charity and we'll get you a spot. So that's how I'm doing it, and feeling good about it.
That's awesome. Everyone should definitely support any runner out there. I'm running for Cal's Angels. There's a lot of people running, so make sure you check in on your Facebook profiles. I'm sure you probably know someone who's running for a marathon. So Chicago Marathon is an important engine for a lot of charity donations. So make sure you check that out. So I've gotten a couple donations from listeners of the show, which is super cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I appreciate everyone who's donated so far to that.
Yeah, people are generous.
So, well, this was fun.
This was fun.
Yeah, we'll have to. If we do a training run around Goose Island or something, we'll have to maybe set that up for September once it gets a little cooler, maybe a little less wildfire-y.
Hopefully, yeah.
But look forward to that. So
yeah, that'd be great.
And we'll check in with you as you go towards the finish line on October 8th. So.
Okay, you too.
Cool. Well, like I mentioned before, we will be back on August 15th with episode 6 of CHGO Marathon. But if, before then, check out all of our content on CHGO_marathon on Twitter. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your support of CHGO Marathon. And make sure you leave us a great review on your favorite podcast provider. We'll see you next time. Happy running.